Gonna give it one more second before we get started, y'all. All right, just to be mindful of time, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'll hand it over to you.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Mick, and I work with Camera Bits, and we make Photomechanic. And I'm going to do a little demo today. Go over an overview for how a lot of people I know use Photomechanic in terms of using it for ingesting images off a memory card and culling. And then maybe how to transfer into other software for doing some post-processing or pixel editing. And at any point, if you have any questions about something I went over or something I didn't go over, feel free to jump in and interrupt me. You don't need to wait till the end. If there's something about something I'm talking about, certainly feel free to stop me or raise your hand or something. Polly, maybe we'll ask you to monitor the chat just to see if any questions come up.
Sounds good.
And now I'm going to share my, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So I can't share my.
Let me fix that. There you go.
All right, there we go. Desktop one should be. All right, can you see my screen with Photomechanic up on it?
Yes.
Excellent. So Photomechanic, what is Photomechanic? Well, it's many different things. A lot of people use it for different things. It's a photo browser, photo viewer. It's a metadata tool. It's a photo management tool. It's a workflow tool. It's kind of hard to pin down. It does so many different things in terms of managing your digital media files. It can move them around. It can show them to you. It can change the metadata on those. It can rename them. It can upload them. It can make copies of them. It can do a lot of different things. We've spent a lot of time sort of trying to make it as useful as possible in terms of managing your files. It's not used to make visual corrections. You don't use it to color correct or change exposure or do some compositing. It's not what we call that pixel editing or post-processing is another term that we use. It's more for the steps before and after that step. And one of the most popular things it's used for is the culling process. And the reason why it's used for culling is because it is so fast. One of the key things we try to do with Photomechanic is combine as many steps as possible into single steps. And it was originally written for use at the Super Bowl so that photographers and editors there who had 500, 600, 700 photos to go through, and they needed to find the 2 or 3 that they needed to post by the end of the first quarter, to be able to do that as quickly as possible. So that's how it was originally created. And we found that a lot of certainly photojournalists used it a lot to hit tight deadlines, but we found that it is also very, very popular among wedding photographers because the culling process in wedding shooting is so laborious and such a time sink. And so that some wedding photographers have told me that they get their weekends back by using Photomechanic. Something that might have taken them 6 hours over a couple of days, they can maybe get done in 2 hours and just in the morning, and then they're free to either keep working on something else or maybe get some time to themselves, whatever they can do. So that's why I'm showing this here today, to show some time saving. Let's see, I see 2 things in the chat. Let me just check here. There we go. That's the link for Polly. Thank you very much. All right, so this is Photomechanic. Photomechanic is, like I said, a photo browser, and I'm looking at a folder right now. People should know that Photomechanic looks at images as they exist already on your hard drive or on your memory card. It's not when you use Photomechanic like this, you don't bring things into Photomechanic and then the images exist in Photomechanic, but not somewhere else. Like I'm looking at a folder right now that's on my hard drive, on my pictures folder, the demo folder, and Charmy Images. This is a kind of a view of my hard drive. This is called the Navigator window. And I'm just looking at the folders that are in this folder. In fact, if I right click on this folder, I can reveal that in Finder. And there it is. This is just in Finder. It's the exact same thing that I'm looking at in Finder. It's just now that I can see them and I can see the file name and I can see date and time in there. We call this the contact sheet. This is basically a collection of thumbnails. So, and as you can see, Photomechanic has things like, you can see I've color classed all these images. I've given them star ratings and I've given them, this checkbox here is called a tag. It's really just on or off. There's really three main ways for identifying or selecting photos in Photomechanic. That's either by color rating, by star rating, or by the tag. Now, I'm going to do a demonstration ingest from some sample files that were provided to us from a local wedding photographer here in Pacific Northwest. And I'm going to go through how just a basic how I would use Photomechanic to cull these wedding photos and how I would sort of rate them. And then from there, how I would bring them into, I use Camera Raw. So I would show you how I would bring them into Photoshop/Camera Raw to begin the process there. Does that sound good? Hopefully that's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Actually, let me talk a little bit more about the interface here, so I don't do anything that makes you wonder what I was doing. So this, like I said, this is the Photomechanic window. This is the contact sheet. Over here, you have the Navigator window, which is a view of your computer. Up here is the favorites. Anything you see down here, if you want to keep this in mind, if you want to use it later, you can just drag a folder up to the favorites. And then I have a bunch of favorites here for folders that I often use. And down here is sort of a task status window. When you have an ingest going on, you'll see a progress bar here. Up at the top, you have some controls. Here's how I sort the images here, right? The default's to sorting by file name, but you can sort by capture time, modification time, sort by rating. You can make a custom arrangement if you want to drag things around and arrange them how you would like. And then you have 10 different sort of custom sorts here that you can create your own sort based on any file attribute that you can think of that we have variables for. So here's, you could sort by file size, you could sort by width or height. You could sort by anything. Say some of your files have keywords, but some don't. You could sort them to show the ones that have keywords, but don't have keywords. Really, there's a lot of different ways to do that. So that's, and then you can reverse the sort with just this checkbox. Over here, it just says all, now you can show selected, tagged, or untagged. So as you can see, sometimes you might go in here and tag a photo, or use the T key is the fastest way to do that. So just T will toggle the tag. And if you want to tag a photos and come in here and just view tagged, we'll just show the tagged. Back to all. And then over here we have the ratings widgets, the star rating widgets, and the color class widgets. If I want to now show only the 4 and 5 stars, I can deselect 0 through 3, and then it will show me the 4 and 5 stars. Those images don't go away. They're not deleted. They're just not shown. That's what these ratings widgets do. They're considered like a filter for what you're looking at. If you just want to show the 0 stars, if I have any, I don't know. Yes, I have 2 that I haven't rated yet. So that's so when I do ratings, I use star ratings myself personally, and I leave 1 star as I identify my personal rejects. Not that any of these images are from Charmy Patel. She's great. She doesn't shoot any rejects images, but she's fantastic. But when I do rating, I use 1 star for my rejects. That way I always know that 0 stars are something that I haven't already seen. So if I rate some images and then go for a cup of coffee, or someone gives me a call and I need to get back to work and I can't remember where I started, I can just show only the 0 stars and I know that's what I haven't looked at yet. And then the exact same thing with the color classes. These color classes also transfer to Adobe Lightroom. If you're going to be working in Lightroom and use color classes there, Adobe uses both the stars and the colors. So those will transfer from Photomechanic. So if you just want to see the red, and there's one trick that a lot of people don't know. If you hold down the Option key It's Option on a Mac. I believe it's Alt on a PC, Windows PC. If you Option click the red, it unchecks everything else and it just shows you the red. And if you Option click that again, the whole thing. So if you just want to see the green. Now we've done a lot of work to make this very fast. You'll see when I'm working on these images, it doesn't like take a long time to do this. It's we really want this to be quick and snappy. When you do change how things are sorted, we try to make that as quick as possible. We do a lot of work on the back end to try and make it snappy. And then down here, you have a status thing. This I find useful because sometimes if I'm selecting a lot of different images, it will tell me how many I've got selected, how many are in the folder. So if you have a folder with a lot of images, 300 images, it will tell you how many are down here. You can look down here and see. You can also have multiple folders open in contact sheets as well. As you can see here, I've got a few tabs. These are tabs here. I have an empty demo folder over here that I can get rid of, but I can open up different folders at the same time and move back and forth. This Navigator, by the way, is also since it's showing your files, it also works to drag and drop. So if I'm looking at images here and I want to move them to a different folder, I can just drag them here to a different folder. A lot of people don't know that as well. If you're looking at images, if you need to move them, it can be very quick just to use the drag and drop from within Photomechanic. If I am working on an email and I need to email some people some photos, if I have my email client open, I can just drag these from Photomechanic into an email and it will drop them in there. It works just like, works very similar to the Finder in Mac or the Explorer in Windows Explorer on a Windows machine. All right, let's close that. And like I said, I want to get to I'm going to do a sample ingest in a minute, but I want to show you quickly some 3 settings I do in preferences to help speed things up for myself and for how I work, and it might be useful for you as well. And my biggest tip to anyone learning Photomechanic is to try to learn the keyboard shortcuts whenever possible. I can go into here into Photomechanic and it says preferences, but you'll see down here on the right side here, it shows you the keyboard shortcut, and on this Mac it's Command comma, and learning those keyboard shortcuts really will make you faster. So if I just do Command comma, it opens up the preferences. Here's the preference window for Photomechanic. You'll see this drop down on a Mac. All the different areas of preferences are in this drop down. If you're looking on a PC, you'll see tabs. This will be a bunch of tabs up here, but it's the exact same thing. And there's a lot of different preferences in Photomechanic. It's we've been making it for over 20 years. We've had so many different requests. People say, can I do things this way? Can I do things a different way? Can I want to be able to do this with my files, but other people obviously don't want to do things that way. So we have a lot of different preferences in here to be able to customize Photomechanic how you want to work. First of all, I'm going to go to the preview window preferences. In the preview window, when you double click an image, it opens up the image in a large view, and it's we call it the preview window. There's a preference here that I want to make sure people know about. It says automatically advance to next photo when any of these things are changed: the rating, the color class, of the tag. Why this is important is if you're doing a call and you rate an image, it automatically will advance to the next photo. It really speeds things up for you as you're doing that. So I'll highlight that when I do my sample call, but I wanted to show you that preference. And then I wanted to go back over here and show you a preference in accessibility, which is the single key shortcut. Now you could set the single key shortcuts. If you like star ratings, you could have your number keys. These are the number keys would set the rating for you. So when I have this set to 0 to 5 sets rating, this means if I just press the 2 key, it sets it as a 2. If I were to change this to set the color class, if I press the 2 key, it will set the color class for 2, which I believe is yellow. But like I said, I like to use the star ratings myself primarily. And then you can always set the color class other ways, whether that's clicking in the window or doing things. There are other keyboard shortcuts for setting the color class or the rating. No matter what you have to set on, you can use the other one. But this is just the single key shortcut to do it, whatever you want to do the fastest. So those are 2 examples of preferences that I like to do if I'm doing a call and how I would do it more quickly. So let's, without further ado, let's start a sample ingest. We call it ingest, the process of ingesting files off a memory card. It's really just copying the files off the card to the hard drive. And I will take a second here to let you know, it is possible to add star ratings, color classes, tags to images that are on a memory card, but we highly recommend that you do not do that. Anytime you start changing, so when you add metadata to a file, whether that's adding keywords, whether that's adding a color class, whether that's adding a star rating, you're changing the file. So either you're changing the file size or you're adding an XMP sidecar file to your memory card. And either way, it's going to start messing with your memory card's table of contents. And memory cards are just not that stable when it comes to making those kinds of changes. So it's very important to just copy all images to your computer first, and then work on those copies that are on your computer. That way you always have the memory card untouched as sort of a last resort backup. So now I'm going to open the ingest dialog. This dialog screen, as I call it up here, these are all the options that will govern the ingest process, the copying process. There's a lot of things to go over here, so I'll go over these. You don't really have to know all the stuff in here, but I'm going to just talk about sort of the things you'll want to know about. First of all, you select the card. The first thing you want to do is where these images are going to be copied. Right here, I have this set to this folder on this is actually on an external drive and an incoming folder. You could choose a second folder to ingest to 2 locations at the same time. And then kind of related to this, but down here is once it's in this directory, what's the directory of the folder structure going to be? You can either have all the images from the card go into the same folder. If you have different folders on your card, you can choose to keep the separate source folders or preserve all the source directories. I just like to dump everything into the same folder. And then here's what you want that folder to be named. I have a very complex sort of variable folder name here. We don't need to look at that. In fact, I'll talk a little bit about variables later on, but you could just name it, say test, or however you want to do it. Over here, there's the option of what you're going to be copying. So there's copy locked and unlocked photos. What does that mean? Well, some cameras allow you to lock an image in camera when you're on the memory card. You're shooting images, you see one that you know is a winner, and you know it's high priority. You need to get it to the wire service. You need to get it to your editor. You need to get it to the client as soon as possible. You might lock that image in camera and then choose to cop the locked photos only. This will help you just get to that photo very quickly. If you want to do that, you can either copy just the raws, you can copy the non-raws, or the raw and the non-raws. And then there's this option to apply the metadata template to photos. As I said, Photomechanic is very big on combining steps. Now, you're going to want to apply some metadata to your photos. Why not do it in the same step as the ingest? And you can use that by applying this metadata template. And then how you want to rename the photos. Again, I'm showing these variables here. I guess I can talk to you a little bit about them. Variables in Photomechanic are bits of information from usually the EXIF data, but they can also come from other bits of metadata in the photos. And then Photomechanic will add that dynamically. So I can put date sort in there as a variable. And that means it will insert the actual date in a sortable format. In fact, down here, there's a button to show all the different variables, and we have a lot of them here. But the frame number is one. You can, the make of your camera, different. So I wanted to show you the times, basically. Oh, where's that up here? All right. So date sort, here we go. It's the capture date of the photo. It's going to be 4 year, 2 month, 2 date. You can just do the date. You can have the day of the week, which all this stuff you can automatically name your files based on these variables. You don't need to know that, but since this is in here, I just wanted to show that. And then a very important thing I wanted to show on this screen as well is you'll notice this snapshot, or this lightning bolt button down here, this icon. We call this the snapshot button. And you'll see this in many different Photomechanic dialog boxes or preference screens. This just means save everything you see on that screen as a preset to use later. So if you have different topics, if you shoot weddings in one format, which you want to always ingest to a certain folder, your wedding photos, but you also have a different folder for events or a different folder for maybe you shoot for a publication, a magazine, a website, and they always go in a different thing. You can save different presets for all these different things. In fact, I have a preset here, which I call my Kim Smith Miller ingest preset, because these are files from Kim Smith Miller. And I select that preset, and now you'll see, here we go. I'm sending things to the demo folder. It's going to the folder name of the Taya Gabe wedding folder. And I have all the things here that these are sort of my presets for this this particular thing. So you can set these presets and save different ones for different types of tasks. And we'll do that rename just so I can show you how that actually works. And then I want to show you the Iptc template here, because I'm going to open this up and it's going to be yet another screen. It's going to have a lot of different options. So buckle up. There's a lot of things on here. So you can see, here we go. This metadata template is going to apply this metadata to every image that's copied over from the memory card. And I have a preset here that I've created that has some information in the caption, has some information about the image rights. It has the copyright's going to be in here, the rights usage terms, source URL for people who are looking for that, creative job title, and some first pass keywords as well to keep these in here. So we have wedding reception, things like that, and some information about the event that's going to be in here. Once again, and then you can save these. I have a bunch of these saved in here for myself. I have different things in here. I could, I have my own copyright if I have that in here. We'll go back to the Kim Smith Miller, and you can create these presets for different tasks as well. But all this metadata will be applied to these images as they're being copied over. So once again, we're trying to save steps. Obviously, you have to do some work up front before you get started. But then once you have this work done, every time you do this after this, you will save a lot of time. That's kind of a general principle in Photomechanic, is to do some prep work up front will save you so much time later on. And then down here, I guess the last thing to go over is to, you can erase the source disk after ingest. That's very dangerous. We even give you a warning. So I generally don't do that because I want to save those just in case. But you can have it unmount the source disk and eject it after the ingest, which is, if you're in a hurry to get back out in the field, you might want to choose that as well. So let's go ahead and ingest. This is going to open a contact sheet as these get copied over. Here, these images are coming in. Open this new contact sheet in this folder, as we've seen. We've seen that the files were renamed with that date sort, 2019-714, and then the frame number down here. And as these come in, so now you're going to want to call these. Oh, you can also see the status over here in the ingest window. So here's how I would call this session. Double click on the first image. It opens up in the preview window. You see this film strip down here, which shows the other images in the folder. You have some metadata over here, a lot of the EXIF data coming in, as well as things about the aperture, shutter speed, the EXIF data. And you can customize this to show basically any image information that you want. If you don't need to know what lens you use, you can hide that if you want. If you don't need to know the camera, you can hide that. If you want to show different things, you can customize this window. I said before that Photomechanic doesn't edit images, but we can do a crop. That's called a soft crop. Use the crop tool. You can make a crop, and this will save the crop in the metadata. So it doesn't actually delete any of the pixels. It just saves this. And now if I were to open this image in Lightroom, this crop would be sort of pre-cropped in Lightroom. And then if you need to see what that looks like, you can either click this to view the preview, or just hit the P key and it will show you what it's going to look like cropped. And you can grab the handles here and do like rotations as well. Same thing. Or you can clear that out. There's the zoom. So if you need to check this, you need to zoom in. Obviously, this image is a little underexposed. As you can see down in the histogram, things are kind of tilted to the right here, but you have that histogram to help you judge if things are missing. We can look here, show lost shadow detail. This is slightly underexposed, but if I turn on show lost shadow detail, we don't see any blocked up shadow. So this can be saved pretty well in post-production. in either in Lightroom or Camera Raw or Capture One or whatever you use. So that's good to have this. If you do have some blocked up shadow detail and have this checked, it will highlight that on the image. So that will help you tell if the image is sort of savable or not. And back to the zoom. You can turn on the zoom. I don't want the crop tool, turn that off, clear that. You can zoom around here to check for focus, and you can control how much you zoom. If you just want to zoom a little bit or lots, you can change the zoom here. But once you have this set, you can just hit the Z key and zoom in and out like that to do things. It's very, very quick. So that's this is it. So now, as I said, I'm going to go through a call. I will just now have my, I have a number pad on my computer. So I will put my right hand on the number keys. And as I said, now I can just hit a number key. Like I said, this one's pretty good. Very happy people, a little underexposed. So maybe I'll give that a 3. And it automatically moves to the next image, right? Because of those preferences we set up in the beginning. When I call, I make very quick snap judgments, and I'm like, okay, that's a 3. Oh, that's maybe a 4. That's a little bit better. And I'll just go through this. Maybe that's a 2, a little off center. Oh, that's better. That's a 3. And you can go through and make these judgments. And as you see, you're going very quickly. Photomechanic is not rendering this image. Okay, this one's a little motion blur. Maybe I'll give that a 1, like I said, because I want to find something a little bit different. And Photomechanic isn't preparing the image to do pixel editing, so it doesn't have to render the image. These are raw files coming out of an icon. As you can see now, and if you need to go back, you can just use the arrow keys, and you can see how fast it moves from image to image, working with raw files. This is sort of the big reason why a lot of folks use Photomechanic, is to be able to go through this process without waiting for each file to render, and you can do it much quicker. So maybe that's good. Maybe that's a 2. Oh, that's good. He's good. Maybe that's a crown shot. So you can go through and start making these things. Okay, that's good. Oh, this guy's barefoot. That might be cute. Maybe it'll have that accent. I don't know. But you can make, however you're doing this, and you can go through. Oh, and then maybe, oh, that one's great. Maybe I'll give that a 4-star because I'll need that one. Oh, actually, maybe this one's a little bit better. So maybe I want to compare these 2 images. We'll come up here to the 2 images side by side tool, and you can now do some side-by-side comparisons if you want to say, oh, I think maybe this one, maybe that one's a 2, and I actually want to make this one the 4-star because I like that one a bit better. Maybe it's a 3. And you can come back here to just go back to this and say, okay, great. Now you go back into calling. Say now, if I wanted to, for example, I've been using star rings, but say for whatever reason, like I say, this is a 4-star. I want to give this a green color class because I know for a fact I'm going to be editing in it. You can just come down here to the color rating and use your mouse to add a green color class to that. So now it has both a star rating and a color class if you want. But it's always possible to use any rating system at any time, no matter what you have that setting set for. The single key is just the sort of the shortcut to single key. So we'll go back here, and then I said, so maybe if I'm coming back here and someone gave me a call and I had to talk and I had to come back here, a fast way to get to everything I haven't seen yet would just be to option click the 0 key. These are all the 0 things I haven't rated yet. That's a sort of a step that I do to kind of keep myself sane. Or if I just want to see only everything I've already done for so far and hide everything I haven't, there I can hide the 0 stars. And if I just want to see whatever what are my winners over here, and then maybe only the greens. There we go, get down to that image. So that's how I basically will do a culling section. Like I will make that first pass just very solidly looking for, very things that hit me viscerally on the first pass. Now, if I wanted to, like I said, it doesn't delete any of these images. It just hides them in the filter. So if I want to say, you know what, let me go back to the 1 stars and reevaluate. Here's just show me all the 1 stars, and now I might go back here and say, oh, actually this one, I actually do like this one or something, or maybe I did because I needed to see, there's a relative or something, and you say, oh, we do need at least one picture with Uncle Joe in there, so maybe Uncle Joe's in there. I don't know. So and then you can go back and you can do as many passes as you want. You might be say, oh, only show me the 3 stars. Okay, which of these do I want to narrow down a little bit? Maybe that one needs to maybe this is more of a 2-star, so I can go here and send that 2-star. And if I do a image what is it, oh yeah, the view, I do the refresh, it will hide that that was ones I changed the rating from 3 to 2 stars. And then from here, if I want to now, I'm going to want to probably post-process these. Like I said, I used to be a heavy Lightroom user, but as time went on, I found that pretty much anything I can do in Lightroom, I can do in Camera Raw. So that's what I've been using, but you could do different things. So I can select these. You could just do Command A to select everything. That's always the fastest way. Command A. I think it's Control A if you're using a PC. And the fastest thing I would do is I can just drag this over to the Photoshop icon. Photoshop, I should have had it open already, but it's going to open up here. And it will open these up into Camera Raw. And here we go. So these are all those images that are going to show up here, and I can do things in here. I'm going to cancel it because I'm not going to go into actually using this to do my edits, but I'm sure you have your own post-processing workflow. So let's go back into Photomechanic here. And another thing I did want to show you, you are able to use different things. Now, so drag and drop is probably the easiest way, but you can also set up Photomechanic. If I right click on an image here, I can have edit photo with, and I have a lot of different editors here, things that I've created or different programs that I've set up. And I wanted to show you where to do that in Photomechanic. We're going to go back into preferences here, Command comma. And under the launching tab for preferences, we have over here, this default application to edit photos. Now I can set the default application as Photoshop. I can set it as Lightroom, so whatever I want to do that way. I can have a different application for movies. But down under here it says assign specific editing applications for each file type. If I click set, I can do different editing for different file types. But way down at the bottom, this is a huge thing for me. You can have custom editors. So you can set up Lightroom. You can have Lightroom CC, Lightroom Classic, capture one in here. You could add all these different custom editors in here. And once you click apply, anything in those custom editors show up in this right click. So it says edit photo with, and all those editors will be here. So if you have different things, if you have a certain editing suite, say if you're doing HDR and you're like, I only like to do my HDR in one software, but I do my other editing, you can have that set up here to make those choices as well. We try to make it as easy as possible to get these images in here. In fact, as I said, because I have the default editing, so I can just hit the E key as I'm looking something, and it quickly opens it up right in my default editor, which is Photoshop. So that's go back into Photomechanic. That's really the real basics of Photomechanic. And then from here, if I make some edits and I save some new JPEGs into a new folder or something, I might want to send them off to a client or a gallery or some sort. I can select these all and go into the uploader. We have I just got there by Command U, but it's also in the menus up here. And you can, if I need to FTP these to a client, if I need to send them to SmugMug, maybe I have SmugMug gallery here. Maybe I have Photo Shelter. I love Photo Shelter. We have presets in there. Flickr. I'm also a big Flickr user. I started getting away from Instagram because it got a little too filled with ads for me, but I've been using a lot of Flickr. But whatever, we have, like I said, we have all these different uploaders. If you need to upload these into different things, we have a lot of different things here. You know, actually post to Twitter directly from Photomechanic. This is something we added fairly recently. If you want an image, and you can actually send the tweet and excuse me. And once again, you'll see where it says caption in the curly brackets. The curly brackets, as we said, always show you the variable. And so whatever I have in the caption field is going to actually be the tweet. I could change this to be the file name if I wanted the file name to be in the tweet, or I could get rid of this, like whatever I need to do. I wanted to write my own tweet. I could do that. One thing you would know that these are raw files, but I believe Twitter doesn't use raw files. So this is automatically going to convert them to JPEGs before it uploads to Twitter. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. So let's say if I were sending these to an FTP site for a client or something, and I'm working with raw files. I did this a lot when I was shooting events down in Southern California. I worked for a number of different magazines, and each magazine needed images in different formats with specific file names. And I would always have to save new copies of images and then go through into my Finder and rename them. It was all very, very time consuming. In the file uploader in Photomechanic, you can automatically convert to the JPEG. you can automatically rename the copies that the JPEG copies and make your own file name here, whether that's something like that with your name or something. Maybe I wanted the date in there, that sort of thing. If I needed to, I have the typo here. If I needed to have these, they said we need them 1200 pixels on the long edge. Put that here, 1200. And Photomechanic will convert to JPEG. It will resize them to the size you need. It will rename those images on the fly, so you don't have to do it specifically afterwards. And then it will get rid of them. I used to have to create different copies of images, and I would end up having 3 different copies of any particular image, and my hard drive would fill up. I would go back and search, and I would only find the 1200 pixel copies. Photomechanic will do this for you on the fly, and it can get rid of them. I mean, you can save them if you want. Just check this box; it will save those transmitted photos. But if you don't need to save a copy, don't save a copy. Don't save a just keep your originals over here. This is something I wish I had when I was shooting events and had to hit a deadline. It would save me so much time to be able to do all this in one specific step. It was very, 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 very helpful, and it continues to be very helpful. So that's another thing I wanted to show you.
There are some.
I should probably pause. Yes, I've gone through
No,
a lot.
I was gonna say there's some folks whose minds are blown in the chat. They didn't realize you could do all these things. Let's see. I think there's a question from. There's a few questions, but from Taylor most recently asked, it may be a bit in the weeds, but can you go over applying metadata codes?
Sure. So, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to edit metadata. Let me see. So if you're just looking at one image and you want to edit the specific metadata for this one image, you can either hit the I key or click this I button. It's going to open up the metadata info window for that particular image. Here's now here's all the metadata that I had tagged in here from the beginning during the ingest. You'll see that. But now I can go through and add different names to the images here. I can add more keywords if I want. Bride, groom, anything like that you want to put in here. And then if you want to say, if I were going through these images and I wanted to add specific keywords to each one, I might say I'm adding groom. It's happened very well this morning. Okay, groom. And over here, you can now save and move to the next photo without going back to the contact sheet. And there's a keyboard shortcut for that as well, which is Command N or Command bracket. So if I'm adding keywords, Command N, it's going to save that and move to the next image. And as you can see, the cursor is still in the keywords image. So maybe this is daughter and N. So adding keywords is very quick this way if you're using Photomechanic to be able to just like use the keyboard, never have to reach for the mouse, never have to go click on anything. You can just start typing, keyboard shortcut, move to the next, type, keyboard shortcut, move to the next. You can even have this if you're uploading, whatever you have your uploader set at, you can say save, upload, and move to the next one. I know a lot of people using like sports and events will use that feature as well. So that's how you would add metadata to a single image. Now, if you want to add image metadata to a group of photos, we'll select all these. You would use what's called the metadata template, and the template is very similar to what we just saw with all the metadata, but it will apply this metadata to everything that you have selected. And so you could write a caption here. You could have new keywords. Whenever you see, so the checkbox on the left means you're going to apply that field. And then the checkbox on the right, if you see this plus, means if you check this, it will append it. So this will add keywords to whatever I have. If I have this unchecked, it will overwrite the keywords to all these different images. So if you were to, we don't need those, but then once again, you'll see this thing, you could have presets here. So you could have a preset just for different keywords for different types of things. You could have, like if you have a keyword set, if you wanted to come down here and work with like a certain number of keywords and then have a keyword list, you could create this list. You could have a whole list of keywords, master keyword, and then just leave the keyword window open and apply different keywords by double clicking them or sending them over there as well. So you could, if you want to work with a certain set of keywords that you always use, you could do that as well. This event and location, if your images are geotagged, if you have a camera that geotags, or if you interface with your phone and it geotags images, this icon here, the globe icon, means it will go into the image, look up the geotagged information, the coordinates, and determine what city, state, and country that's in. So that's what these are. You can turn that on or off. These images aren't geotagged, so I can't really demonstrate that this way, but this is kind of a handy. So if you have geotagged images, it will automatically put the city, state, and country in your metadata for you. And if you were to write a caption, so let me show you an example. So if I'm captioning images, I might say, image shot by, and I would put in the variable for credit shot on zero, right? So that's gonna be a curly bracket. So say I use these variables and I had this as my my caption, right? And I could have this, I could save this. Let's do this as a, save this as a, right? I'll save that basic caption. So if I want to apply these to all these images, let's go ahead and do that. Apply that to, let's hope this works. So now we'll go into this image and we'll look at it. And there it is, the image shot by, and it has my credit information and the date here. Obviously I didn't take this image, Kim Smith Miller did, but it took the credit information here where I put credit, and it filled in that. So the upshot of this is now I can save this, and anything I go to, if I look at some different images, say we're now looking at the different set of images, and I wanted to apply that new metadata, I can come down here. I can use the same thing, and it's going to automatically fill in the date for me. I don't need to go and change the date. It's going to look up the date for me. So I might say, I might have a caption here for something that I'm going to, if I want to put the date or my name in there, I don't need to edit this every time I add the caption. Photomechanic is going to go through and add this dynamically. So let's, in fact, let's do this with the right way. Let's do Kim Smith Miller first of all. And we're going to apply that. And then we're going to go back in here and do this, and we're going to add my basic caption. Oh, it actually, because I had saved it with all this stuff, I'd saved my stuff as well, so it's going to overwrite. But you would probably go through and let's undo all that stuff, and it would take whatever's in the credit field and put it where you see credit, and it's going to put the month here and put the day there. So you can save different like these different captions, and that way once you do it once, you don't ever have to change it. You don't have to look up the date. You don't have to look shot with, and it's going to put in like the camera model, right? And that's going to be a thing as well. So we can apply that one to this one, and now we'll look at it. Here we go, shot with an Nikon D750. Like you can create these captions that will be automatically edited, that where you don't ever have to look up the information again. You can craft these as well, and it really saves you so much time. And I guess the basic concept I want you to come away with is that the metadata info, which you'll see up here, is for one image, and the template is for multiple images. So you'll see that it says template, and this shows multiple images. And then once again, you can save these as presets for different things. You can also customize this. You'll see, I can scroll down here, so much metadata. Oh my God. Some things in the world I will never, ever use. And in fact, so let's go into, if I go into preferences, which is Command comma, and go into accessibility, customize the Iptc info. I can hide any of these things that I don't use. I say I'm not going to use, all these model release things. Hide them. I can rearrange them as well if I. So if I'm for whatever reason, the city is very important to me, I can just drag this up, or actually not. Oh yeah, where is that? There it is. Yeah, you can drag it. Just have to drag and hold, and I can drag the location up there. So that's going to be up there. So I can do that. You can restore the defaults, which I'll do here. But so you can reorder. You can customize that either both the Iptc info and the Iptc template to show just what you need if you don't want to see all that other stuff. And just like everything else, there's the preset. So if you want to see something for something in particular, Like I have one here that I have my own personal one. Here we go. Everything is, I've hidden a lot of things. I've rearranged things. You can have different presets for different tasks. So if you have a certain set of information you want to use, if you're shooting for a particular magazine and you need to know some of the IPTC stuff or the location of the model release information. If you're shooting weddings and you don't need to see this stuff, you could have different presets for that. Yeah, so that's a basic thing. And like I said, let's I can go over some more of the variables as well if you want to know about that. Let's call this up. Let's
And for those who may
look at
not know, oh, sorry.
Mhm.
One thing that I know has come up in the chat is FTP. And, when you're like on assignment for New York Times or whoever, they'll ask you to FTP an image. Can you explain what that is real quick?
Sure. So FTP is just a way to transfer files on the internet. It stands for File Transfer Protocol. It's one of the earliest things that the internet invented. FTP existed before the web did, before the World Wide Web. It's just a way to transfer files. So if someone asks you to FTP images to them, they will basically give you an FTP address, and they might give you a login, so a username and a password for that. So let's say if I wanted to do this, we'll go into the FTP here. So that selected uploader is the FTP. You can have the different connections here. So they're going to give you an address. You might say, here's the server name of the address. They're going to give you a login and a password. You'll file that in here. You'll say, okay. And then from here, you can, once that's in there, you would pick, like if you made connections, you would have different, so you could have like a whole list of different FTP sites. Like you would put the name in here, the address, the login and the password here. You would say, okay, and then it would show up in this connection dropdown, and you would select that dropdown, and then Photomechanic, you would say send, and it will send it to that FTP site. And then, like I said, you could use as many of these options here as you need, or you don't need to use them. If they say they want JPEGs, say resize to JPEG. If they say they need a rename, you can rename the files here as well, but you don't have to. You can actually, in the say preserve EXIF data, you can have this to hide the metadata. So if you don't want them to know your EXIF data or your metadata template, or if they said we need images that don't have keywords, but you have images on your keywords, you can apply the metadata template, which could be a whole new one. We could clear this out. And for the keywords, just check that and leave it empty, close that. And now it's gonna apply that metadata to the images that you send to the FTP, but it's not going to mess with your originals. It's only going to apply it to the ones you send. So it will send images with that metadata template, which we just cleared the keywords. And that way you don't have to create a separate copy of your images that have some with keywords, some don't. So that's a nice little thing to do with Photomechanic. But yeah, that's FTPing. That's as a file transfer protocol. They'll give you an address and a thing. Just come over here to connections and you fill it in there.
Awesome.
Hopefully that answered the question.
Yes, that is perfect. Are there any burning questions? We have a few minutes left for Mick. Go ahead, Elsie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. It's been really enlightening. Earlier you mentioned about not editing, using Photomechanic on a card, but can you do it like, let's say you transfer your images to external hard drives? Can you work from an external hard drive? Yeah, that was my question earlier, I think.
Certainly, yes. In fact, that's what I do. I have a specific SSD that I ingest all my images to. It could be a hard drive. I used to work with a hard drive as well. So I'm going to open up the ingest preferences again, which is Command G. But yes, so this is right here. This is a folder on my hard drive, which for the demo. But for my own personal things, I have this. This is the volumes. So I just click primary destination, and I can go into here and anything on here. So this Mixan2 is an external drive. This SSD is a hard drive or external drive. And I can go in here and select any folder in here that I want. and open that, and it will ingest to that image. And like I said, you could actually do a secondary. So if you wanted to have something on your own hard drive as well, just to have a backup, or you have a specific backup, say maybe I want to back up everything to this drive, you can do that, and you can have 2 different locations. But yes, those can all be on external drives. When you come over here to the Navigator, you'll see your external drive. So I have, so here's that Mixan 2 drive. This is my SSD. These are external drives here. I can go into and I can open up any of these folders that are on the external drive. So here's the CBits pics. Actually, there's nothing in that folder, but there is something in here. Yes, if I click on that folder, I can see that. So this is on an external drive as well. All this stuff is like, it's basically like looking at Finder in your computer, or Explorer if you're on Windows. But you can do all that. You can work with files on them. You can send files to them. You can, if I wanted to drag these to this drive, or if I want to drag this, if I want to copy things from one drive to another. So let's see, this is my SSD, but if I'm looking at, so this, say this was my ingest, and I want to move these to an external drive, I can just drag them over to this folder on the external drive and move them that way.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
There was another question I wrote down, like the variables. Are these, because I photograph sports, you know, when you get the team sheets and all that, are those, that's the data you enter in the variable section, right?
So that's something slightly different. We call that code replacement. And I can actually do a real quick, hopefully if you have time, I can show you quick about how to do code replacement.
Okay,
so
yeah.
let me open up. So here's an example of a sheet from a particular soccer game. And it has the jersey numbers on this side. It has the player names here. And then I have other columns. I've created a column with the last name and the column with like the whole definition. So these are 2 different things from one particular game. There are sites that can generate these for you. I think they're paid sites, or you can just do some copying and pasting on your own site. Like if you go to any of the sports sites, you can paste in the rosters with jersey names here. So here I've done this in Google Sheets, and what I would then do is I would save this. I would download this as a TSV, a tab separated value. So save that as a TSV, right? So, and then back in Photomechanic, let's go here, and if I go to File or Edit, Settings, Set Code Replacements. So here's code replacement. So I'm going to show you how this works. So I have this TSV, which has that exact sheet I was just looking at too, right? And we'll see this thing called a delimiter character, which is the equals. So let's go into, where are those? Those are in my demo folder. There we go. These are images taken by Craig Mitchell Dyer. This is the exact game. So we're looking at, so now I want to do some images. So here we go. We see there's the keeper number 24. Let's go into the metadata here for this. And I can say, and he's Portland Timbers 24. I can see the jersey right there. Actually, that's wrong, but that's it actually inserts the name from that sheet automatically. So I don't have to look up. I can just type in the things as actually that's because that's the other keeper. So that was Real Salt Lake, was it? 24. Let me look at that sheet again. What did I say? There's SL. That's right. So if I just went through SL 24, there you go. So I went to it, put in his name, Jeff Attanella, because he's Salt Lake 24, and you can do that. Or if I wanted the full thing, so I could do the same thing. SL 24, but I wanted to use the 3rd column in that thing. I could do change 3. And then it used the 3rd column, so it will insert the entire his team, his position, and his full name in there. So if you're writing captions for sports, that can be very, very helpful. And then you can save and go to the next one, and you can say, oh, that's SL number. We already know he's in Beltran, but we can do SL 2 Tony Beltran, and the same thing. So if you're captioning sports, using getting that, creating a spreadsheet, saving it as a TSV, and then loading it into Photomechanic allows you to do this code. It's called code replacement. Is that helpful?
Yes, very helpful. Okay. I'm just here like, yeah, wow, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So just to recap, like you start with a spreadsheet. I use Google Sheets. You could do this in Excel as well, whatever you have. different columns. So I have a column for the actual, this is the column that's going to be the code that gets replaced. We kind of name these things a little bit weird. It makes it sound much more complicated than it is, but this is the code. And then this is what you're going to replace it with. So this is the column 1, column 2, column 3. If I want to replace anything SL2, it's going to replace with Tony Beltran. If I put in number 2, it's going to just put in his last name. If I put in column 3, it's going to replace it with this. And like I said, you fill out a spreadsheet like this. You download it as a TSV, which is tab separated value. You'll pick this, it's come down here, it's wherever your downloads, and then you go into Photomechanic, go into edit, settings, set code replacements, and you pick that file. You can have as many files as you want. You could have a separate sheet for one team, you could have a different separate sheet for a different team, other different anything you want to, like anything you're going to replace on a regular basis, you can create a code replacement sheet for, and you can have a whole list of them in here. Use the delimiter character, use the delimiter, the code, then the end of the delimiter, and it will replace with any of those columns in the sheet. It takes a little bit of learning, like you have to do some trial and error, figure out what makes sense to you, or what's how you can wrap your brain around it. It took me forever to wrap my brain around it, but once I did, it becomes very, 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 very powerful.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think Polly's going to make this video available to you, so if you need to go back and listen to it again, you should be able to do that. Hopefully that'll be helpful.
Yes, indeed. Any last questions? If not, thank you so much, Mick, for this great overview. I hope you all will improve your workflow, and again, save so much time. Yes, don't worry, the video will be available for y'all to replay it. You can learn other shortcuts, and they're always happy to help. They're very quick with reaching out and answering questions, so if you do have questions later, don't worry about that. You can always reach out anytime. Anything else from you, Mick?
No, you just said I was about to say our customer support. We have real people working.
Yes, I always see you guys quickly responding on social and things like that. So yes, there are humans that are ready to help.
Yeah, we're happy to do it. And it doesn't matter. There's a free trial. So if you want to try Photomechanic, there's a free trial for 30 days. You don't have to put in a credit card. You can just download it, click the try button. It starts a 30-day trial. We're happy to provide free support if you're on the trial. If you haven't have a license, no problem. Give us download it, try it, call us up, say, how do I do this thing? I saw Mick do something on a video. He was copying images. I forgot how he did it, or I want to do it better. They'll be like, no worries. They'll give you help. And then, yeah, you can see if it works for you, or if it doesn't, it doesn't. But hopefully it's a tool that can help you work faster.
A quick question before you go. What's the difference between the Pro, the Plus, and the normal one?
Great. So Photomechanic, everything I've shown you here is Photomechanic. Photomechanic Plus has an additional an additional feature, which is a database, which allows you to scan basically you could plug in, if you have 5 different hard drives or external drives, you could plug in each drive, scan it, unplug the drive, and it will create a database of all your images that you can then search and do a lot of different things. So I've created a database myself. Let me close some of these as well. See if I can do this. So real quick, hopefully I can do this. Maybe these. Oh, I need to actually do some updating, but it would allow me to go through to and be able to search through all my images. I could search through 1 million images and start searching for keywords across 5 different hard drives. It's a whole different topic, but that's the difference between the Plus. Plus is everything in Photomechanic. This is actually Plus that I'm using, but if you don't go to this tab, it's basically just Photomechanic and there's everything in there. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't show a demo of this time. I need to update my catalogs because I just updated Photomechanic Plus. But that's a whole different topic. We have some videos, or if you want me to come back and do a demo just for Photomechanic Plus, if we wanted to schedule that, I'd be happy to do that too. I'd be a little better prepared to do that.
No problem. I'll let you know if others are interested in that as well.
Sure.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you again so much for your time, for doing this again. And don't worry, photographers, I will drop the recording in our Slack channel. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you
Yes,
so
all
much.
you. Thank you everyone for coming. Thanks for having me. Have a great day, and yeah, feel free to reach out as well. Any questions you have, we're happy to answer.
Amazing. Bye, everyone.